You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, author, speaker, mentor, and guide. I'm here today to discuss living life after adversity, to discuss living life fully once again, a life of hope, peace, and resiliency, a life fully embodied. I utilize the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to your joy, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Live Free podcast. Today, I have Suzanne on the podcast. Suzanne has taken her education through the Brennan School of Healing, through education and advanced education. She has now joined the faculty at Brennan School of Healing. Her practices include in-person as well as at-distance healings and process facilitation, or what she calls BIP, work to support clients as they explore healing and awaken to their true selves. Suzanne has worked for 20 years as a registered massage therapist, and she has studied yoga, Tae Kwon Do, belly dance, and everything else in between. Suzanne is a powerful healer, and she is my counselor for years while I was going through cancer myself. And first and foremost, she is a powerful cancer survivor. So I look forward to having Suzanne on the podcast and listening to some of her beautiful insights. You will absolutely love it, and be prepared for a deep dive. Hello, Suzanne. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Christine. It's wonderful to be here.
Well, I'm absolutely honored and thrilled to have you. You have been such an influential person in my life. And so I'm so excited to have you on and talking a little bit about your story and the things that have brought you to where you are today. So let's start first with where in the world you are tuning in from.
I'm in a small town northwest of Saskatoon. If you get in a car and drive about 2.5 hours northwest, you'll be at my door and I'll put the kettle on.
Perfect. Excellent. And so I know that your story is so similar to mine. We both have gone through cancer, and it has changed us in such profound ways. So let's begin a little bit with, what type of cancer you had and how it impacted you.
Yeah. So I had an abnormal mammogram in February of 2019. I don't know about you, but some of these dates are really clearly set in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Biopsy led to surgery at the end of March of that year. Originally, the cancer was caught very, very early, and originally the thought was that I would just require surgery. However, genetic testing of the tumors said it was the type that was more likely to come back, and so chemotherapy was recommended. And so I did 4 rounds of chemotherapy that summer, and so I'm 5 years out now. That magic 5-year mark has passed, and it's like, woohoo.
It is. It's an exciting, really monumentous congratulations, 5-year mark.
Thank you.
If for those that are listening that don't know, we're told as cancer patients that your chance of recurrence is higher within the first 5 years, and then on the fifth year, you're back to regular chance. So that's exciting news.
It is exciting news. And it's one of those things that, like, it's anybody who gets there, I really think we need to pause and really take that in. That, each of these milestones, they're major.
They are huge. They truly are. And it's interesting. Your story is really, 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 really interesting because you had already begun to really come into who you wanted to be, and the way you wanted to help people and work into the world. Often my stories are, someone who was kind of plunking along, something awful happened, and then they started this change. Whereas for yourself, you had already made a decision to begin to move into the type of person that you wanted to be and how you wanted to impact the world.
Mhm.
And so tell me a little bit about how that shifted your focus and, what it was that you were doing.
Right. So actually, I'm going to back up even further than that, Christine,
Sure.
because back in 1994, I was a young mother. We had a child who at that time was a year and a half old, and my husband became ill with cancer. And it rocked my world.
Yeah.
And what I learned from that was up until that point in my life, I really thought I was in control of most everything. And learned so strongly then is that how much of it is just out of my hands.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Brent got better and he is, we're together still. That was a big, big change in how I looked at the world. And,
Yeah.
like I said, what was in my control and what's not in my control.
Mm.
Uh,
Powerful.
then I studied and became a massage therapist, and for 15 years more, I worked as a massage therapist. And during that time, especially at the beginning, I was having experiences as a massage therapist that massage school hadn't prepared me for. I knew things about my clients that I had no way of knowing how I knew them. I would hear things that I should share with the client, and it's like I can't say that to them. And I would, and it would be, very powerful for them. So I started looking for help with these experiences, and I ended up as a client of a woman who had graduated from the Barbara Brennan School of Healing. So that was the early 2000s. And as she was a huge help to me, and every now and then she'd say to me, "When are you going to go to the school?" And I was like, "Well, I've got a young child. We don't have any money." I was, da, 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 da. There's all kinds of reasons why not. And finally, in 2014, one of the teachers from the school came to Saskatoon and held a workshop, and I attended that. Lori Keen is her name. And actually, both Brent and I attended that workshop, and it was a transformative experience. I had been skeptical about a lot of things that I considered to be a little too woo-woo for my comfort zone. But that weekend convinced me that I had to go to school. When God knocks that hard, you have to open the door.
Beautiful. Love that saying.
And so I did. I started school, BBSH, in 2015. At
Hmm.
that time, it was all in person because that was pre-COVID times. And so 5 times a year, I flew to Florida for a week at a time to go to school. It's a 4-year program, and I loved it. From the first moment I was there, I knew I was in the right place. I had found my people.
Mm.
And the school is it's referred to as the Harvard of healing schools. And it is rigorous, it is in depth, um, it is profoundly life-changing. So I was humming along through school, and I was in my 4th year. The end was in sight. I could see the end. And that's when I had that abnormal mammogram. And then I was dealt with the what in the world is happening.
No
I
kidding.
had a lot of thoughts myself of how can this happen to me? I'm a healer. I had
Right.
a lot of people say that to me out, to my face. How can this happen to you? You're a healer. And so I had to do a lot of soul searching, a lot of tearful sessions with my counselor about what does it mean to be a healer? What does
Hmm.
it mean to have a physical body where things go wrong?
Hmm.
Yeah, just the whole shebang.
Yeah. It isn't that it. You know, and it's interesting because I hear your story and you know, I've got all kinds of things running through my head. You know, maybe you were at this transitional time where you were ready to let go of that last bit before you moved on, or you know, maybe it was your final test. Like you just never know what these things are. I think what matters is how it feels to you and what feels true to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not sure. I've never come to a place where I'm really confident about anybody who says, why did these things happen? You know, like from
Mm.
that end. Um, However, I am confident that everything that happens to us, we can take something away from and
Mm.
away from it enriched
Yeah.
if we so choose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Isn't
Yeah.
that the truth? You know, Suzanne, you said something to me once in a session. You said, you know, that you can take away something from every experience, and you said, you know, if my cancer were to ever come back, it would just mean there's another lesson to be learned. And I will hold on to that forever because it was such a beautiful and reverent and powerful statement because it was one of complete surrender to your experience and to you know what has happened to you and what has happened to me now because I go by that and you know all those different things and I think that that just was is such a testament to your ability to take an experience and flip it on its head and have it be something that can truly move you into a positive direction, you know, and my opinion, the true definition of resilience.
I would agree. It's
Yeah.
it isn't what happens to you, it's what you do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And now I'm curious. I know when we talked, you said you had that I talk about resilience a lot, and I do because I love it. And the whole idea, I just want to crack the code. But
Right.
you said that you had some different ideas than some of the ideas that I had, and I got excited. I love to be challenged. So tell
Right.
me, what are some of your beliefs around resilience and what it means to you?
Okay, so I'm going to back up again.
Hmm. Yeah.
The fourth year, I did the 4-year program at Barbara Brennan School. I've also done the 2-year postgraduate, well, actually 3-year postgraduate training. So I've been in that world for quite a while.
Yeah.
And so I was in my fourth year. And one of the things you have to do is a thesis project in
Hmm.
that fourth. And one of the possibilities is a service project.
Mm.
So the year before, a man in this small town had died of cancer, and he was a young man.
Mm.
He worked at the school. His wife worked at the school. My husband is a teacher, and like the when something like that happens in a small town, there's so many interconnectednesses that it ripples out in such a strong and profound way. And when I was at his funeral, and I saw so many of the staff members, the school staff members, who were just gutted.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think I just found my service project.
Mm.
And so I did. I reached out to the staff at the school and I offered whoever wanted it a series of free healings. And the way the world works, it turned out it wasn't my plan, but it turned out that my project became about grief
Mm.
because every person who came to me was dealing with grief of some sort. you know,
Mhm.
a miscarriage and inability to get pregnant again, the loss of a relationship with a sibling, the loss of, someone through death, the loss of
Mhm.
a job. And so this project unfolded in front of me and gave me lots of opportunities to help people through grief. And then when I was doing the postgraduate work, we had practice clients. And once again, God sent me a whole bunch of practice clients who are in their cancer journey.
Mhm.
Um, I didn't seek it. It
Mhm.
came to me. And the thing that I came to see through dealing with all of these people in all different kinds of grief is that bad things happen and we need to grieve them. And we need to feel those feelings, as uncomfortable and as painful as they can be. But the people who got stuck would get stuck in like everybody goes through this bad thing happened and I don't like it.
Mhm.
People who get stuck in and it shouldn't be this way.
Mm. Right.
And it's kind of natural to have a little bit of that, and it shouldn't be this way.
Yeah.
But it's when we stay there that the real torture happens.
Mhm. Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. I'm remembering myself. I remember me thinking and feeling, why me and not them? And I say that all the time with connections and people because I know that it's so common for all of us to feel that, you
Yeah,
know?
natural to have some of that.
Yeah. That it shouldn't be this way. What did I do to deserve this? You
Mhm.
know, all of those experiences. It's so true that is such a hang up, isn't it? You know, people stay in their grief and loss
Mhm.
when they won't there's an you going back to allowing, in earlier in our conversation today, we're talking about not having control.
Mhm.
And so, would it be correct to say that the people who get stuck potentially are, because they didn't have control over it, they feel trapped by it, like it's not fair. Does that make sense?
Does make sense. Yeah, and like surrender is, so many of us equate surrender with losing or with, um, being beaten.
Mm-hmm. Waving
And
the white flag.
yeah, as opposed to surrender as a falling back into the arms of something that will carry you.
Mm-hmm. Right. Releasing.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I'm so fortunate to be having this conversation with you because I'm listening and I'm like, you're right. There is such a powerful, there's so much power in it. And then, whether it's something really difficult that's happening to you or something that you want to have happen for you that you've been questing for or working on or whatever, anytime that there is a lack of surrender, there's pain and strife. Hmm. I love that.
Yeah. And, again, it's natural to have some of that why me. And I would
Mhm.
never, um, if I'm working with a client who's in that, I have to honor that why me is where they're at. And
Mhm.
I will walk there with them because I've been there too.
Mhm. Right.
And over time, with a few challenging questions,
Mhm.
and I can help somebody see a way that's perhaps a way out. And that's so, it's life affirming at that point.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Certainly. Now I'm curious if they reduce their the why me, the this shouldn't be this way, this kind of grip to the unfairness of the situation, they can then see a way out. I want to go back on that because that's really interesting. Is it because, do you believe that it's because they're in a blind place in life? Like they're not able to see the ways out because they're so focused on what how unfair the situation is, or how would you say that they're missing the way out, I
Mm.
guess.
Yeah. Well, because it's we become like a dog chasing its tail, you know.
Mm,
We go around that circle of this bad thing happened, it hurts really bad. It shouldn't be like this. And then it hurts more. And then, we just are back around that circle. Um, Sometimes we all need a little bit of outside perspective, when life gets really hard, because
mhm,
it does get really hard at times.
mhm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I love how you say there's a place to be honored of that why me situation when you are in a place of like, I can't, I'm not able to just surrender right now. I'm angry. And I love how there's an honoring there because I think that is so important. And I think that it's really common for everyone who has gone through something awful to ask themselves that question. I know that you and I did for sure. Within our layers of diagnosis and the things that had to happen in order to get healthy. And that so many other people do the same thing.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite sort of, tools or ways that you access surrender when you are in that place?
Hmm. That's kind of funny because I think that that is one of the biggest gifts that cancer gave me is it knocked me to my knees so hard that I
Mhm.
had no choice but to surrender.
Mm.
You know, I call myself a slow learner that way. Um, and so now some of the things that help me is anything that lets me see that I am both a very small and insignificant being in the much broader universe, as well as a a powerful and transcendent being.
Mm.
And so anything that can do that both and does that for me. So nature is a huge, um, like time in nature always does that for me. Um, I lead a meditation group online every Monday morning at 8 and gathering. It's a free meditation group. If anybody wants to join in, they're welcome. But
Mhm.
leading this meditation group and sitting with that group of people who are um, also on a journey does it. Being with clients.
Mhm.
There's lots of ways. Just sitting with a cup of tea and looking out the window can do it. It's
Yeah. You have a practiced hand at surrender at this point. And I love that it's kind of what I heard and what you said is that we are both the most powerful, transcendent being, and we are also insignificant. It feels so like as without, so within. It feels like the duality that we talk about so much when it comes to life and this experience of it. And to me, that sounds like what you're really tapping into from my lens is the essence of you, who you are. if
Mhm.
that makes sense. Less about this physical realm and more of the essence, is, really where I find my deepest peace. And surrender is realizing that I'm part of a fabric, that I am essence, that I am not this body, I am the soul.
Mhm.
If that makes any sense. That's usually when I'm at the most peaceful, surrendered space.
Mhm. Yeah, it's that is something that that can bring a lot of peace, a lot of contentment. And at the same time, you see, anytime you talk about spirituality, there's paradox and there's both ands, right?
Yes, so true.
Um, because the physical body is where the spirit resides,
Hmm.
and it's an integral part of this lifetime. Um,
Hmm.
it's I've seen lots of people try to do a spiritual bypass, like I'm going to, sort of like I'm going to rise above all of the messiness and
Hmm.
that is inherent in having a physical body. Um, and that bypass just it prevents people from like getting the essence of the experience,
Mm.
both and.
Yes. I love the spiritual bypass. I feel like I talk about this all the time, and I try to remember to credit you, because it was you who told me about it. And I just love it. This idea that, you know, when I first was diagnosed, I said it too. I was just like, I'm going to rise above. Like, I'm going to learn so many things. Like, it's going to be so great. And I remember you just being like, and this is shit. This is really junky. How have you tapped into that? And I was like, no, I don't think I have, you know?
It's really, really uncomfortable, and I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to face this. This seems crappy. Yeah. But it's so true that, we have a lot of that, it's kind of this, what is it? Good vibes only sort of mentality that
Mm.
is just drowning human beings, and they aren't learning because it isn't good vibes only. It's all of the vibes. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly, and it's feeling into all of it, which is essentially a surrender, isn't it? Oh, beautiful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You, someone recently who was not kind, but nevertheless, they told me to get over myself.
Mm.
Yeah, but anyway, when that person said that, I got thinking, and when someone says that they are, self-conscious, then, or if they are, in pain, or if they're concerned, or if they're whatever it is, it's usually because they're focused on the self. They're really, really focused on the self. And it's interesting to me that, we talk about surrender here, and how the very essence of surrender is to not be so self-focused on this current experience that you're going through, that, the how you're mad about it you are, or, and to instead transcend into a different space of, realizing that you are insignificant, but yet you are everything all at once in this beautiful paradox. Would you say then that part of surrender is to not be so self-focused?
This is another one of those paradoxes.
Hmm.
Yes, and yet that's where my focus has to be. You
Right.
know, um, like there's just it's a difference of flavor
Mm.
of being self-aware, or you
Mhm.
use the term self-conscious,
Mhm.
and self-conscious also means like kind of shy or a little bit like I don't know where to put my hands or how to stand or, that
Yeah.
kind of conscious. And like that kind of self-conscious doesn't help. Um,
Right.
but self-awareness does,
Mhm.
aware of who it is who's having this experience,
Mm.
the witness, the impartial witness.
Mhm. Mhm. Beautiful. I think that anyone listening is kind of probably having a little bit of a feeling of like, whoa, because this is such a deep place to be, and I love diving so deep. But I think that that's such an important part of going through pain and anguish and all those sorts of things is to get deeper than the layer of I'm gonna learn so many lessons, or deeper than the layer of this isn't fair and this shouldn't have been happening to me, and to just peel back, to keep going through until you get to the root of really how you feel and how this is affecting you and where it may have come from, and to get kind of woo woo and weird. I think that those things can be so enlightening and freeing when you're going through a really difficult situation.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. It's it's only in with hindsight that some of these things come clear.
Hmm. And you'll often hear from people who have gone through experiences that they'll say after the fact, this has really changed my life. This really impacted me. I did learn so much, once the dust settles. Um, and that truly is going through this experience in whatever way that you need to in that time. And then once the dust settles, you get an opportunity to look back and go, oh, this really did shift me. This really did change me. And most people, I find anyway, wouldn't change it
Mhm.
because they're different, and they're more resilient, and they have a joy for life. You watched someone you love go through something awful, and you said, "Oh wow, I have no control. How can I be part of this fabric? How can I help people in a way that heal them in a way that speaks to me and my soul?" Everyone has a story like that. And that's what I just love so much about this podcast and about talking with people in this capacity, is because you get an opportunity to, and it's not just where's the weather, or how's the weather. It's like, no, like what trauma have you endured and how did it change you? Like that's my favorite part about this podcast.
That part of me doesn't make me a lot of fun at a party, but if, like one-on-one over a cup of tea, I will sit and talk with anybody about anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what makes you so good at what you do. You know, all of the training that you've gone through, and the all of the time that you spent in school, yes, is fantastic and has made a huge difference for you, I'm sure. But your natural ability to be um, open and honest about your feelings and situations, I think that is truly what makes you such a good talk therapist. And I'm really, really grateful for all of those times where you shared your heart with me, because I really think that as a person who really needed that at the time, I got so much more from that than anything else.
You're so kind. Thank you, Christine. It was a pleasure to go through that with you.
Mm.
One
Well,
of my
thank you.
teachers in advanced studies, the postgraduate work,
Hmm.
he referred to us as tour guides in hell
Hmm. True
because
enough.
we've been there and we
Yeah.
know the
Yeah. Amazing. I love that. That I would have never thought of that, but you're right. It is tour guides in hell
Mhm.
because you're not trying to find the ladder out instantly. Instead, you're helping the person to understand and surrender to the experience so that when the world gets messy again, it's not just an escape, right? Does that make
And it
sense?
will get messy again.
Oh yeah. I'm with you on that. Although
Yeah.
I find that I have a little bit of a tool in my tool bag now. Usually when I'm really, really sad, I always think to myself, well, I got through cancer. I'll be fine.
Right?
Yeah.
A friend of mine just recently lost her job. She had had cancer 6 years ago. She said, I'll find another job.
Yeah. It will be fine. Yeah. Excellent.
Exactly.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So how has things been going for you now? You know, with all of the things that you've gone through, everything that you've met, you people that you've met with and how they've impacted you, how are things going for you now in your life?
Things are full and busy and exciting. I'm on the faculty now for the Barbara Brennan School, so I teach other people
Mhm.
this life-changing journey. Um, I still have a private practice, so I get to I still do massage some. I do talk therapy some. I do healings, so hands-on healings or at a distance healings.
Mhm.
I'm also working for the Saskatchewan Cancer Agency now I sit on their board that's the Patient and Family Advisory Council.
Wonderful.
And the Saskatchewan Cancer Agency really like, honestly wants to hear the patient experience and have the patient voice um, be taken into account in all of their decision-making practices. So that's something else that's going on. Life is full. Life is good.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, that is congratulations. That's some huge stuff. Really, truly.
It's nice to be able to pay forward
Hmm.
because
Right.
um, the care I received saved my life.
Hmm. Right.
And I'm
Yeah. It feels good to be part of the people helping. I know that helping is one of those things where, we always talk about just human nature in general, that any happiness book you read always says the same thing, like secure, like a certain level of security, a certain level of people around you that love you, a certain level of experiences, but first and foremost, how you help others
Mhm.
really determines happiness.
It really
And
does.
so I truly does, and so your experience that you went through has now turned on its head and become a way that you access joy by helping others and paying it forward.
Right. Which is what your podcast business
Yeah,
thing is all about, right?
that's right. That's right. And sometimes I feel a bit bad because admittedly, I don't know that it's totally selfless. It feels good to help people. There, there's something about it that when someone smiles and goes, "Oh my gosh, like, thank you. What you just said, that clicked for me." There's something in that moment when you see their eyes light up and you're just like, I was able to be part of that realization for them. Just a small part because it was all them, but this beautiful moment when their eyes light up and you're just like, ah. And so
Mhm.
it isn't totally selfless to help people.
It's
Yeah.
not. That's okay.
And
Um,
that's okay.
in the 12-step world, the final step is having had these realizations, you take that out and share that with others.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Without even realizing it, we probably went through the 12 steps. I don't know what they are, but I'm sure we did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I'm going to link all of this here. I want to put your the meditation on Mondays. I'll put that in there, as well as just your website, your business. Is that how people can find you best?
Yeah, website or my email, it's all there on the website. Also, I'm teaching an in-person workshop in Saskatoon on November 16th and 17th. It's based on Barbara Brennan's first book, Hands of Light, and it's a way for people who are new to energy work as well as people who are already experienced in it. The way the workshop is designed is it gives something to everybody. And I'm excited about that. Now that, COVID it's not a distant memory, but it's a memory. Uh,
Mhm.
Things in person are good.
Yes, they are. Being in community. Beautiful. Beautiful. Another chapter in how to heal is in a whole nother podcast. It's community and how that can help you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you, Suzanne, for being on here, for sharing your journey with us and all of your beautiful, in-depth thoughts that make you not fun at a party, but super fun here. So,
That's great.
yeah. Okay. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for listening. If you loved this last episode, then consider rating the podcast. Those few seconds that it takes makes a huge difference. Also, if you are interested in mentorship, transformational programs, or reading the book Unbroken, Rising Above, Thriving Within, then take a look at the show notes for all the resources and links. Always remember, you can overcome any obstacle. Let's do this together.